Today we're going to take a look at Nickelodeon episodes that were banned and censored from the YouTube channel WickedBinge. This video seems like a good thing to watch since I cover things that have been banned from airing on TV. And also I can use this video as a reference to look at more stuff that I never covered before. Grab some snacks, hit the like button, and let's get started.
The unaired pilot. While not censored in the traditional sense, there was a pilot episode in 1990 that wasn't released until the 10-year anniversary DVD release, Decade in Diapers. This pilot was called Tommy Pickles and the Great White Thing, and it followed Tommy on an adventure to discover what the toilet in his grandpa's bathroom was.
There's a big white thing in there. What is it?
Interestingly, this pilot's team featured several animators from other projects like The Simpsons and Aeon Flux, two projects very different from the Rugrats. Also, the animation is weirdly good. Like, for a 1990 cartoon, this is ridiculously fluid and well drawn in general.
It also seems like Tommy had a different voice actor in the unaired episode. If I remember correctly, I think Tommy's VA also voiced Buttercup from the Powerpuff Girls.
The lost episodes. At the risk of sounding like a 2010s creepypasta commentary, there are some concepts for Rugrats episodes that never got their time to shine. The fan site Rugrat Online goes into detail on about at least 15 unaired episodes, and other websites list upwards of 30. Most of these we obviously can't give you concrete evidence for, but the sheer variety of them, alongside how realistic their synopses tend to be, makes them worth talking about. Some episodes were simply deemed redundant. The aforementioned fan site lists episodes called Client Dinner and Glasberg's Polynesian Restaurant. They're suspected to have been scrapped due to other episodes revolving around fancy dinners already existing, such as Waiter, There's a Baby in My Soup, or Dummy Bear Dinner Disaster. Others just didn't seem all that interesting, like Rear Crib Slat, which sees the babies being afraid of their cribs for some reason. Well, I mean, come on guys, you could have done something with that. Maybe the slat looked like a ghost, or even the terrifying Robo-Snail. More reasonably banned episodes. But now we move on to episodes that had more concrete reasons not to air. There were two episodes entitled A New Friend and Roller Skating, which were scrapped for the same reason, Kimi. Basically, they didn't want to spoil Kimi's introduction to the main cast before the Rugrats and Parents movie, which makes sense because, like, how would she be in the States before her mom married Chaz? There were also some episodes cut to avoid potential controversies. A key example was The Case of the Missing Eggs, which would have been an Easter-themed episode where the babies went on an Easter egg hunt. This was cut for supposedly one or two reasons. Religious themes, which we aren't really buying, given the existence of a Hanukkah-themed special.
Yeah, the religious aspect is kind of dumb considering they had a whole episode about Moses.
And two, issues of realism, which, I mean, it's a show about babies using their imagination and going on adventures. Surely they could do something with that, right? The scandalous deleted episodes. Okay, maybe that all caps scandalous is a bit of a stretch. It's not like any of these are like Stu commits a triple homicide or anything, but there were certainly some interesting ideas that never hit the air. Here are some highlights. Chucky and Susie. This episode was apparently going to portray Susie and Chucky going on a date and having their first kiss. Given that they're, literal toddlers, this could have definitely caused some side eyes, so we can't blame them for bailing on it. Kimi loses her voice. Self-explanatory. Kimi loses her voice and has to go to the doctor. Weirdly, this one was shot down for fear that it would cause gross out. We say weirdly because, okay, really, are we just gonna pretend that Ren and Stimpy wasn't allowed to do whatever the heck it wanted to at the exact same time this show is airing? Double standards, but whatever.
Something came out of my butt!
I don't know how Ren and Stimpy got away with so much, knowing what we know now about Nickelodeon. I'm assuming John K was a part of that group.
Chucky gets trapped. Chucky gets his head caught in a banister. That was the plot here. This could have maybe worked as a cautionary tale for kids, but the dangers of them imitating their favorite red-haired scaredy cat far outweighed the possible benefits. Tommy the Gambler. This one supposedly would have seen the grown-ups betting on horse races, and presuming from the title, Tommy would have found a way of his own to bet on things. But would you believe us if we said the whole gambling thing wasn't even the reason this one got scrapped? No, it was because crowd scenes were too hard to animate. It's not that that's untrue, it's just really funny that they had no issue with the gambling part of it, but drew the line at, a doctor's office. This one's my favorite. Shoplifting. Yeah, there was gonna be a Rugrats episode called either Angelica Takes a Candy Bar or just Shoplifting. Scrapped because apparently the higher-ups didn't want Angelica to be quote-unquote criminally evil. Dude, it's a candy bar.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Nothing but trouble. Unfortunately, this one isn't so funny. Angelica's being a troublemaker as usual, but in this episode, she would have supposedly pushed her parents so far that they would slap her across the face. Not sure why anyone on the writers team thought we'd want to watch a toddler getting face slapped by her parents. I mean, even if you believe in spanking, most decent parents can agree that the face is a big no-no.
If the episode was made, I bet the scene where Angelica gets slapped would be turned into a meme template.
Okay, back to the funny. Well, maybe not so funny for this one. To end the Rugrats section, we move on to a little story called Incredible. No, this isn't a crossover where they babysit little Jack Jack. Rather, this is what's called a storyboard jam. It's like a game of telephone, but with storyboards and a group of presumably frustrated kids show writers. The one page that's been leaked portrays Tommy bringing Angelica a cup of juice, which is made of fully natural ingredients, aka dog food, and Drano. Angelica is saved by Stu, who ends up drinking it to remind Tommy who the alpha male is. His words, not ours. While Tommy has a seizure, Stu's forceful actions gain the terrified admiration of little Angelica, who Stu promises will become Daddy's little girl one day. And let us thank our hero Reptar that this is all that remains.
Also, one part you're not mentioning that he called her a cunt. Is cunt a slur? I don't know anymore. It feels like everything's a slur nowadays.
There are supposedly 2 more pages that got way worse, but they're said to have been destroyed. And you know what? We're glad they are. That's one piece of lost media that should just stay lost. But now it's time to get to the far more controversial of the main 90s Nicktoons, the Ren and Stimpy show. Unlike Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy doesn't seem to have a ton of unaired episode concepts. Instead, many episodes were censored or outright banned, and there's a ridiculous amount of them, so we'll be going through the most notable instances one by one. Big House Blues. Starting with the first episode, 2 small scenes were cut. Ren kissing Stimpy and a male prisoner saying, "See if I care," in an effeminate way. Interesting place to draw the line, but alright, we promise it gets weird though. Sven Hoek. When Ren's cousin Sven comes for a visit and proves himself a kindred spirit of Stimpy, they naturally cause some chaos. 2 scenes were cut. A scene of the pair playing in a litter box and, much more notably, a roughly 2-minute long sequence of Ren going into graphic detail about how he's going to mutilate the 2 of them for messing up his possessions.
It's 2 of you and 1 of him. Just jump him.
Big baby scam. Ren and Stimpy disguise themselves as babies to live comfortably with human parents. The comfortably part ends up in vain, however, as the guys end up in an awkward family bath with their new adopters, which, of course, was cut from future airings. Dog show. In this episode, George American takes Ren and Stimpy to a dog show. Due to the abuse he puts them through therein, it was pulled from airing, and sadly, this isn't the last we'll see of this sicko. Stimpy's fan club. This episode is about Ren plotting to literally murder Stimpy over him getting more fan mail. You guessed it, pulled from airings. Out West. In one deleted scene, Abner and Ewald tied nooses around their necks and said, "Y'all bring the kids now, you hear?" We're gonna counter that advice and say you might not want to bring the kids.
Ren and Stimpy is the prime example of just because it's animation doesn't mean it's for kids.
Powdered Toast Man. A scene of good old PT Man burning the Constitution and the Bill of Rights was banned in the USA, but not in international airings, or on DVDs. I guess not everyone wants to say Good Morning USA. A visit to Anthony. In what's honestly one of the most clever episodes in the series, the very first fan to write a letter to the show, Anthony, was invited to voice himself as he wins the contest to meet the titular duo. This one was mainly banned due to financial issues, since Nick would have to constantly be paying Anthony royalties for his voice acting.
No! No!
Man, why would his dad want to prevent that?
They didn't really think that one through.
Son of Stimpy. When his son runs away, Stimpy approaches the police to ask if they've seen him, which leads to him being callously kicked out. This scene was banned, presumably for making the police look bad. Huh. Alright, yeah, we're not even gonna dignify that one with a response. The Royal Canadian Kilted Yaxmen. In this episode, they almost managed to slip the word hell into the anthem, but it was censored with a fart noise for obvious reasons. Man's Best Friend. This is arguably the series' most infamous case of censorship. Man's Best Friend sees the return of George Liquor American as he adopts Ren and Stimpy to train as guard dogs. This episode was pulled for being extremely violent, not just because of the animal abuse, but even more so due to the severe beating Ren gives George later on, deserved though it may have been. There's also a cigar joke, but call us crazy, we think the animal abuse is a little bit more of an issue. Circus Midgets. This one was pulled due to the name. They prefer the term little people, or so we hear, I don't know.
Like I said earlier, everything's a slur nowadays.
Jiminy Lummox. In one scene, Mr. Pipe drinks polluted water, leading to his hands melting off. This was deleted for reckless behavior, but we'd hope the whole melting hands thing would be enough for kids to not mimic this. Road apples. Scenes of Stimpy being run over, Ren being eaten by a vulture, and the 2 of them having bubbling sunburns on their backs were cut. Seriously, how did they actually get this show to air? Farm hands. There was supposedly a blink and you miss it scene where Ren flips the middle finger. Ren's retirement. When Ren turns 10, that is 70 in dog years about, he goes insane and basically starts to plan for his own death. The morbid concept got this episode pulled. Eat My Cookies / Ren's bitter half. Apparently, these episodes were both banned because of allusions to communism. Not in our America. A communist! Ow!
I miss Adam West Bros.
Powdered Toast Man versus Waffle Woman. Ren and Stimpy predicts 9/11. We'll let you take a wild guess on why this one was pulled. Ren needs help. Not to be confused with Ren Seeks Help, an episode of the adult party cartoon that nobody needs to acknowledge. This episode sees Ren sent to an asylum after a suicidal episode. These dark scenes were cut, as was one later on in which Stimpy visits him with a baby he found. This scene was banned for possibly depicting gay marriage. Honestly though, that was a pretty good joke. Really, just too many to list. From weird religious references to bizarre shock and toilet humor, even down to more instances of characters being suicidal, violent, or even more scandalously effeminate. This show really pushed the boundaries time and time again. And just to be clear, we're totally not bitter at all that Nick didn't let Invader Zim finish its second season, while this show got like 300 second chances in terms of censorship. Totally not bitter, no!
I'm telling you, John K was a part of that in crowd back then.
Now let's move on to a show that's less disturbing and more plain old classic suggestive. Rocco's Modern Life. I don't think she's gonna call Hef. In the episode The Good, the Bad, and the Wallaby, a deleted scene shows Heifer having a very pleasant experience with a milking machine. Since male cows don't have udders, we'd have to recommend that milk be disposed of immediately.
I never noticed that. It's more of a sus moment though.
All night? Rocco and Heifer go on a road trip and need a place to stay, and their best bet is the No-Tell Motel. The front desk clerk tells them that there's a room available due to a premature departure.
Oh, we have premature departure!
And when Rocco says they'll be staying for the night, he's both shocked and impressed by the implications. This scene was censored on a lot of future airings, including on Paramount+. A very bad day. In one deleted scene from Hut Sut Raw, Rocco picks some berries off a big purple bush, which is followed by him screaming and a purple bear running in pain holding his crotch area. Censored for obvious reasons. Man, we hope that poor guy's okay. Leapfrogs. Finally, another full episode ban situation. In this episode, Mrs. Big Head feels neglected by her husband, so she tries to seduce a very uncomfortable Rocco. The themes of infidelity and just the dirty humor in general gave this episode the boot. Just plain pulled. The episode Jet Scream was pulled after the 9/11 terrorist attacks in the USA. This isn't due to any weirdly aged jokes or anything. It's just an episode about Rocco and Heifer flying on a plane with plenty of jokes about how crazy airport security could be. Oh, don't worry, Rocco, it got worse. Hef in a handbasket. This might be the strangest censorship yet. No, not because an episode about Hef trading his soul to the devil could be potentially considered inappropriate for younger audiences, but because while this episode was temporarily banned, the episode To Heck and Back has no such reference to any censorship, and that episode is literally about Heifer going to heck.
I like how they censored the two L's with a C and a K.
Well, if nothing else, Rocco's dirtier moments were usually subtle. And if you think that's subtle, wait till you hear about Hey Arnold's censorship. Too gay for Kenya. First off, this is the only opportunity we're ever going to have to share our favorite YouTube thumbnail of all time with you guys. Soak it up. Now then, while Hey Arnold doesn't really have a lot of scenes that were censored, it's been outright banned in Kenya for what was perceived as phallic pro-gay nature. Their reasons? Well, get ready for this. Grandpa Phil's head looks like a penis.
Holy shit, I never noticed.
That's the main reason. Being paranoid about 90s Nicktoons making your kids gay is already a bit silly. But if Grandpa Phil is your kid's gay awakening because of his head shape, you definitely have some more pressing issues to talk about. Here's hoping you aren't angry about us taking so long to get to the Angry Beavers. You call this profanity? Get this. One episode was censored for the Beavers using profanity. That profanity being shut up. Oh no! The naughty SU words. Someone save us. Okay, the deleted finale it's a bit more reasonably scrapped. When the Angry Beavers team found out the show was getting canceled, they naturally decided to plan a series finale. In this epic finale, the Beavers would have been discussing their imminent cancellation and the fact that they themselves were mere pictures. It's a fun idea, but likely got canned to being a little too existential for kids to handle. For our grand finale, we have the eternally famous Spongebob Squarepants, and since this video specifically is about the 90s Nicktoons, we'll just be talking about season 1 today. The censorship of SpongeBob's early years was sort of like a blend of Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy's. Like with Rugrats, it mostly consists of scenes that never made it past the drawing board, but like Ren and Stimpy, these span over most of the episodes, so let's go episode by episode to talk about the most interesting examples, shall we? Nudity at the Tree Dome. When SpongeBob visits Sandy at her tree dome the first time they meet, Persia decided that the visual of this cartoon squirrel in a bikini was just too scandalous, so they stretched the screen to cover her up. Reef Blower. The SpongeBob Pitch Bible, which we may or may not be planning a video on soon, has a lot of interesting early concepts for episodes, one of which being Reef Blower, which would have involved Patrick and SpongeBob accidentally destroying Squidward's house with their blowers. There was also apparently a more graphic drawing of Squidward dying, which is pretty intriguing when you consider the final product does include a version of this, so just how much worse was the original? Plankton. Plankton's debut episode doesn't have cutscenes involving the man himself. Instead, some scenes of Squidward in his bedroom were intentionally censored due to concerns over nudity. Yeah, because it's not like there's, an entire episode about SpongeBob repeatedly ripping his pants off, whatever. Oh, but speaking of which, ripped pants. India decided to blur out every scene of SpongeBob ripping his pants. Honestly though, they might have made the episode funnier, like they're literally censoring a sponge.
India made it look worse.
Pickles. For some inexplicable reason, in 2021, the scene where SpongeBob hammers toast into his kitchen countertop was censored. They didn't even cut the scene, just the toast. This is toast erasure, and that's just despicable. Squeaky Boots. Also banned in 2021 was a scene in this episode with a depressed SpongeBob face down on the grill. Okay, this one's a bit more understandable. Scaredy Pants. Long thought to be an urban legend, there was originally a close-up shot of SpongeBob's exposed brain, which was deleted for its disturbing imagery. Not sure what's so disturbing about it really. He said it grows back, guys. Jeez. Fun. F is for firearms with which to shoot the jellyfish. Yes, the evil genius Plankton originally thought that jellyfish nets doubled as guns, as the storyboard sees him asking what happens after they shoot him. This was later changed to the iconic what happens after we eat him scene.
What happens after we eat him?
I can believe it. Plankton is even holding the net like a rifle, so then rewriting the scene is believable.
Jellyfish Jam. The iconic rave scene was thankfully not cut, which would have truly been a crime against humanity, but rather slowed down to prevent seizures due to flashing lights. This also happened with a few other scenes, like the Krusty Krab blowing up in Employee of the Month, and the flipbook scene of The Paper. And since we mentioned storyboard jams, we have to mention Behind Closed Doors, an entire book of vent drawings from the crew of SpongeBob. I'm not even sure we can describe most of what goes on in this book without being demonetized, but all we're gonna say is that you should not view this outside of incognito mode. If for no other reason, do it for your own sanity.
Watching this video made me realize that I never covered anything from the Rugrats, and that cartoons were built different back in the day. This video also gave me some ideas for 2 new series. Just a fair warning, there's going to be like a lot of content coming. Hopefully, if life doesn't get in the way. Until next time, I'm TzuNamii. Thanks for watching.